Kublai Khan never invaded the Philippines. Chapter 1: The Empire That Never Reached. In the late 13th century, the Mongol Empire seemed unstoppable. Kublai Khan had crushed the southern Song dynasty, battered Korea into submission, and sent massive fleets crashing against Japan and Vietnam. His armadas stretched across East Asia like thunderclouds, and yet, just south of China, lay thousands of islands that never felt the Mongol storm. The Philippines, rich in resources, strategically placed along sea routes, and no stranger to regional warfare, remained unconquered. Why? Chapter 2: The Shadow of Conquest. The Mongols were not strangers to the archipelago. Chinese and Arab traders had been sailing through these waters for centuries, linking Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao to wider networks of commerce. By Kublai's time, coastal communities were already trading with China, sending pearls, tortoiseshell, gold, and forest products in exchange for silk and ceramics. Yuan records tell of envoys reaching island chiefs in the Philippine archipelago, seeking symbolic submission. Some chiefs, eager for trade or wary of the empire's shadow, may have offered tribute. Others simply ignored the call, yet no army ever came. For the Mongols, who had crossed mountains and rivers to expand their dominion, the Philippine Islands were visible but never vital. Chapter 3: Geography, Unity, and the Problem of Islands. The first barrier was geography. Unlike China, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam, the Philippines was not a unified kingdom, but a patchwork of chiefdoms, barangays, each ruled by a datu or raja. Where kingdoms and empires had central governments to topple, the Philippines was different. It meant fighting 1,000 small wars instead of one big conquest. Even with fleets of hundreds of ships, the Mongols struggled with logistics. Their attempts to supply armies in Japan and Vietnam had ended in disaster. To leapfrog across thousands of islands, each with its own resistance, was a risk too costly for an empire already stretched thin. Chapter 4: Lessons from Japan and Vietnam. Kublai's closest attempts at conquering tropical island-rich regions, Japan and Dai Viet, had taught him brutal lessons. In Japan, the Mongols were undone by storms and walls of samurai. In Vietnam, they were dragged into jungles and mountains where guerrilla fighters harassed them at every turn. The Philippines promised both problems at once: dangerous seas and scattered resistance fighters in terrain hostile to foreign armies. Local warriors, skilled in sea raiding and ambush tactics, would not have met the Mongols on open plains. They would have bled them from the forests and coasts as the Vietnamese had. And let's not forget the tropical diseases that could also wipe out an army far away from home. Chapter 5: Strategy and Priorities. Kublai Khan turned his gaze elsewhere. After Vietnam, he set his fleets against Java, hoping to secure control of major trade hubs. The Philippines offered wealth, yes, but not control. And to the great Khan, control was the true prize, not just pearls or gold. The Philippines remained a frontier of tribute, not conquest. Tribute meant symbolic dominance without costly campaigns. And as internal struggles began to plague the Yuan court, the idea of risking fleets and men for scattered islands simply faded. Chapter 6: Escaping the Mongols, but not from subjugation. The Philippines' escape from Mongol conquest shaped its destiny. Unlike Korea, Vietnam, or China, it was never directly folded into the Mongol world system. Instead, its history followed its own path, free of Mongol rule, until a different empire, centuries later, arrived with sails, crosses, and cannons. The Mongol Empire reached farther than any in history, but not far enough to touch every shore. What if Kublai had tried? Could his fleets have anchored in Manila Bay, or would they have been swallowed by storms and guerrilla resistance like in Japan and Vietnam? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe as we follow Kublai's next gamble, his invasion of Java. Or don't. Thanks for watching.